So I guess I would like to start out with one question, kind of hard. A lot of people can't really answer it right off the cuff, but I think you can. Who are you?
Who am I? Sheila Younglove. I'm an attorney in McMinnville, Tennessee. It's Warren County. I am a transplant to the South from an early age. And being a child who was orphaned at an early age and brought up by relatives, I saw certain things in life that I once thought needed to be changed. You know, I was born in the 60s, so I went through, just as a toddler, the civil rights era and all that followed. So I've seen a lot of things happen, and it just stirred a seed within me to want to be a part for change, a part for the good of the citizens of our state and our nation. I really do want to make that difference. And when I went to college in my 40s, majored in sociology, social movement, and social change. So I've always been drawn to this sort of thing. And I was approached by the Democratic Party locally to run for senator. And I was like, me? I'm a nobody. Well, that's exactly why we need you. You are a regular person. And I hope that is how I am perceived, a regular person who truly cares about her community and wants to affect change, not, for any party line. You could call me a Martian. I don't care what you call me. Just want to be a good human, be a good human and try to be a part of making life better for everyone.
Okay. What part of Tennessee right now are you in, or what district is 16?
Okay. I'm in Middle Tennessee, almost smack in the middle of Tennessee. I am in the 16th district, which has 7 counties, and they're all very rural. There's Warren County, Van Buren County, Coffee County, Grundy, Marion, Sequatchie, and Franklin County.
Franklin, that's right by like Nashville kind of area.
No. That's Franklin, Tennessee. That's a city.
Oh.
That's in Williamson County. Franklin County is Winchester, Tennessee, and Deckard.
Yeah.
So big difference socioeconomically, and as far as rural, it's extremely rural, and there are a lot of working poor in this district. People who are hardworking, honest folks that live paycheck to paycheck.
So who is in the seat right now?
Janice Bowling. She's from Coffee County. She lives in Tullahoma.
Is that
more? She's held it. It's in Coffee County. It's
I'm saying, is it Democrat or is it Republican?
She's Republican.
Oh, so how is your district? Is it more Republican, more Democrat, or?
It's more Republican.
Oh, so you have an uphill battle.
I do. I love a good challenge. So I've got one.
Yeah.
I went through that special torture called the bar exam. So, and I don't wish that on anyone else, but if I could get through that and live, then I think I can do this.
Yeah. Antoine, do you have a question to ask future Senator?
Well, thank you.
Ms. Younglove, thank you for joining us today. I think it's very important that we get some progressive and some definitely some strong Democrats in our legislatures. In both houses in the South. I think it's very, very important. I had an opportunity to look at your platform, and I had an opportunity to see that education and expanding Medicare was definitely 2 talking points that you were pointing out there in your platform. Could you kind of give our viewers an idea of what that looks like with both of those issues with education and with the spending Medicare?
Okay, let's look at education first of all. Of course, you could spend hours on education alone. However, I'll try to condense what my research so far has fleshed out for me. I spoke with the president of the Tennessee Education Association, Beth Brown, who is in Grundy County, which is in my district. And between Beth and some other teachers I've talked to, I learned that Tennessee is 46th in the nation on per student funding. That's a scary thought, and it's ridiculous. We have teachers who are paying out of their pockets to supply their students with the things that they need in their classrooms. There is a $6.1 billion surplus in the Tennessee budget that is not allocated. So instead of giving our teachers that, or a portion of it even, for per student funding, we want to sit around and argue, which party wants what. You can say, well, let's pray about this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Well, let's put some feet under those prayers. How about we take some of that money and we divvy it out between the districts, and we make sure that teachers don't have to go buy basic supplies for their kids in their classrooms. Let's also take some of that money and give a real pay increase to our teachers. They said this past year, every teacher in the state's going to get a 4% raise. Woohoo. Well, what happens is that money goes to those districts, okay? And each county gets to determine how they're going to allocate that. Now, if they need to hire more assistants, well, that money goes to hiring more assistants. Their teachers don't get that raise. Although it's advertised as every teacher in the state's going to get 4%, a chicken in every pot, that kind of thing. They're not getting it. The average new teacher in Tennessee lasts for 2.5 years because they can't afford to keep their profession. They're working 2 and 3 jobs just to put food on the table and pay their bills. Our highest paid professionals in our society should be our educators, our law enforcement. We should always make sure our military is taken care of and their families. But those are 3 areas where we all fall horribly short. If you have better incentives for your teachers and you make that bar high enough, you're going to get great educators. You're going to retain those educators, and your children are going to reap that benefit. It's so important. Another area on education that we need to look at is mental health. Now, we have like school counselors, guidance counselors, and maybe one counselor, in the district or the county rather, to deal with traumatic events. We need a healthcare professional in each and every school in the state. There's 96 counties in Tennessee. Currently, we have 35 professionals to cover the entire state. And I'm not talking about trauma just for students, because some students their parents are going through divorce. Some children are victims of child abuse. Some children are hungry. Their parents just honestly can't afford to feed them. So what you have here is you have a child who is traumatized in some form, or they've lost a loved one close to them. Well, not only are they traumatized, their teachers are traumatized too, because they're helping to comfort that child, to provide things for that child. They worry about that child when they go home. We need mental health to be a lot better in each one of our schools. And, we have I want to say it's a $250 million endowment right now for mental health in Tennessee for the schools. Well, that's great. That's a great start. But what most people don't realize is it's an endowment. They can't touch the principal of that. They only get the interest. The interest off of that is not enough for the entire state. It's a good start, and So they say, okay, how do you get this money? Well, short of somebody leaving their entire estate to the, a certain fund within the state, taxes. Nobody wants to pay them, but unless you have a better idea, that's what you do to get that money.
So is your district, do your school, are they on the failing list somewhat, or?
They are struggling. They are struggling financially. They're struggling with their educational ratings. And don't get me wrong, we've got some fabulous teachers in this district. But with the report card that they give schools for the counties and things, we are struggling. Another thing in that is standardized testing.
Yeah.
Every single teacher says we need to get rid of the crap that they're doing right now and go to something like the ACT suites of testing that starts in 3rd grade and goes through 11th grade. I say that it's a better way to measure it.
It's so funny that you say that, not to cut you off, Younglove. I was sitting just listening to you, and I was listening to you go through some of the day-to-day struggles of what our school systems are seeing in the South. And what bothers me is they attack low-income areas. They attack areas where there is a greater number of individuals who does not even meet the average state minimum household income. And
exactly
that bothers
right.
me. That bothers me. You take for an
Yes.
example here in Alabama. You talk about the report card. I personally, and this is just my opinion, I think me and you both can agree to this, is that I believe that this report card or this grading scale is a way of coming up with false and wrong statistics to say this is why you're taking money away, or this is why we shouldn't invest in more money, when, to be honest, our children are past these standardized tests.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. The teachers I've talked to locally have told me that the current testing system that we have in place is such that students, as far as evaluating teachers, teachers get a grade too for funding purposes. Like you said, there's some statistics that are massaged, maybe that are not in their favor. The teachers tell me that the way it does now is there are students who don't even have this particular teacher instructing them, yet they're grading that teacher. That's insanity. That shouldn't be happening. I don't even see how that works.
Before we go any further, people are joining in live on Facebook. I would like to introduce you all to State Senate for District 16 candidate in Tennessee, Sheila Younglove. She is telling us about her platform currently. Right now, can you tell the people how can they if they want to volunteer, if they want to donate, how can they reach you?
They can go to my Facebook page, Younglove for Senator. I have link in there for Act Blue, where they can make a donation. They can also look under Sheila Younglove on Venmo or PayPal, and they can donate like that. They can volunteer, because some people they're like, this is a hard time, especially with COVID-19. People are out of work. Even if they're drawing unemployment, they're still having a hard time. This is an unprecedented time in our history that our current history. They can volunteer to help me get the word out about my platform. They can volunteer for in the near future to make phone calls for me, things of that nature.
We had a candidate running, and she was in a rural area down toward Talladega, Alabama here. How is it the rural area in Tennessee? How is it affecting you? Because what kind of jobs do you have in rural Tennessee? What kind of companies, things like that?
Well, we have a lot of factory jobs. We have Nissan and Deckard, and we have Bridgestone, Calsonic, and we have Eurozu. All of those supplement, car factories. That's a huge portion of our employers. Our other employers are obviously schools, and department stores like Walmart, bigger department stores like that. And then you have people who are working, with temporary agencies that may have criminal records, and they can't get jobs in certain factories because they may have a felony on their record. It may be a nonviolence felony, but they can't get a job because of that. We just have a lot of working poor people scrapping by from day to day, not because they don't want to take care of their families. It's just, the wages aren't high enough. Things cost too much. Can't afford health insurance. Maybe they don't qualify for TennCare because, and that gets me into another part of my platform of Medicaid expansion. You have to be, currently in Tennessee, you have to be at least 138% below the poverty line to qualify for Tennessee's TennCare. It's our state's Medicaid type thing. If you're like 137% below the poverty line, too bad. You can't afford to buy private insurance. You can't qualify for TennCare. You're in that no man's land. So what do? You go to the ER if you have an issue. Well, you don't have insurance, you don't have TennCare, so who absorbs that cost? Hospital absorbs some of it, and you're seeing a lot of rural hospitals close because of things like that. You also have citizens who do have private insurance swallowing some of that, and their premiums bump up a little bit, a lot of it. So you're seeing people not really being cared for the way that they should be. And it makes the entire group unhealthy, financially in our district, health-wise in our district. And I'm interested in what an actual former Republican governor of Tennessee introduced was Insure Tennessee, to fill in that gap. Now, he got blown out of the water by his own party on that. But there is a member of the assembly in Knoxville, Dr. Richard Briggs, who is working on a new iteration of Insure Tennessee to come back with. And I'm personally interested in reaching across the aisle and talking to that person and saying, hey, let's look at this together. Like I said, I'm running as a Democrat. I don't care. You can call me a Martian. I don't care what you call me party-wise. I just want us to take care of our people. And there are ways to do it. Surely, with that many heads together, we can come up with something workable so that your person who's out here doing the best that they can doesn't have to choose between groceries and getting medical care.
It's funny you say that, and I'll let Rob and Antoine join in as well. I'm at that point in life where I totally understand Republican Party, Democrat Party, but I'm also starting to see how the people we are electing, the people are catching the brunt of everything now.
Yes.
I never would have thought I would have saw hospital closings.
I didn't either.
Back in the day, they used to sell a pill for $12,000. I get that. But now hospitals are closing, schools it's not a priority. It's money involved, but it's not a priority. Our children, right. You're not saying, you could almost put Younglove for state senate of Alabama.
Exactly. I mean, it's nothing. This is not new magic. This is happening all throughout, particularly the South. I think all states suffer to some degree, with the possible exception of the state of New York. But I think we're all struggling. There have got to be better answers out there.
To say that a Republican say, hey, let's work on the insurance. A Republican now, and he get blown out by his own party.
That's pretty bad.
I think Alabama, we turned down money for Medicaid. I know Antoine is that's one of his passions as well, like this. And so I'm trying to figure out, where are we? How can we get back to supporting the people? By you saying you're running for a Democrat, but you're saying you can call me a Martian, that's almost dangerous.
It is.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
It is.
You know what, Lonnie?
I appreciate you for saying it, but
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm glad that we have someone like you that is running for such a powerful position,
Thank
and
you.
but I'll let Antoine. I don't want to hold time. Go ahead, Antoine.
You know what? It's so funny. We had this conversation, Lonnie. Yeah, it was. It's me, you, and Rob. We had this conversation a while back about how the major two-party system have gotten away from the reason for why they exist. You take for an example here in Alabama, we have, and I know that there may be some people who may disagree with me, but hey, that's a part of this process. We have some great Republicans that work hard for everyday people here in Alabama that don't get pointed out that they buck up against the party sometimes.
Hmm.
I spend quite a bit of time at least once or twice during the session in Montgomery, and I'd watch some of the Republican legislatures kind of get shunned off because of the fact that they don't stand up for something. I think it comes down to a point where people look at the demographics of a particular party and they don't look at the principles of the party no more. They look at the average person that votes in those areas. Are there more Democrats? Are there more Republicans? They look at the
Right.
voter turnout. Is this
Mhm.
area considered more Democrat or more Republican? And based off their analogy or based off what they see, that's what party they choose
Mhm.
to run in. And I'm sure, Ms. Younglove, just like it is here in Alabama, up there in Tennessee, people switch parties just like you switch pants, just to
They
keep
do.
an elected position.
They do.
And they're not true to the constituents of people that they represent. You know, and so
Hmm.
it's good
I
to see
agree.
that we have individuals. It's good to see that we have individuals that care about the working class people. But I think the main issue that have come with these parties, and Lunn has said this all the time, special interest groups have basically cast the people away from their elected officials.
Yes, they have.
Special interest groups tell the elected officials when, where, and how. The
Yes, they
people
do.
just cast a ballot.
Hmm. We got to take that back.
No,
We've
I
got
agree.
to.
We
Hey,
have
Rob,
Absolutely.
I didn't see you.
Anya Parker says she loves Sheila. Anya is running for state seat in Memphis. That's actually how I came across you. We're helping her as well down there in Tennessee. I met
She's a
Anya.
lovely lady.
Yeah, we met at a meeting in Washington D.C. We were both in campaign class together, campaign
Hmm.
management, and she really she's an inspiration. She loves what she does. So when I saw
Yeah.
her endorsing you, I said, well, let me definitely reach out to you. Rob, do you have anything you want to ask her? Rob is more of an
Yeah.
education guy as well.
How you doing, Miss Younglove?
I'm doing fine,
And
sir. How are
thanks for
you?
coming on. Happy
Thank you.
Mother's Day.
Thank
I'm
you.
good. Listen, I'm curious about what you were saying real quick. Per student capita, how much money is spent per student?
I don't actually have the figure in front of me right now, but it's not nearly enough. I know that teachers are ended up paying between $500 and $1,000 out of their pocket each school year for their classroom.
And I would say, well, I'm going to assume that with the COVID-19 pandemic going on right now and stuff, what's the technology infrastructure in the 16th district? How are students all of a sudden, are we doing distant learning, or is the infrastructure strong enough to support such?
Some parts of the 16th district are doing online. Teachers are teaching their classes online for them. The sad part about that is we have, from what the teachers are telling me, we have numerous students who don't have the infrastructure at home to be able to watch the class. So they're effectively being homeschooled by parents who are not prepared to do such, who don't have the adequate information or means to do that. So for a lot of them, it's extended summer vacation, you know, and these students, I fear, are going to be behind when the new school year starts. I'm very concerned about them. And the teachers that I've spoken with are very concerned about them. And even more than just teaching them, many of them, the best meal of the day that they get is at school. So they're not being fed at home like they should be. Now that breaks my heart. Our county actually did a bus service, or has been doing a bus service every day to take food to the families, those children that they know, you know, qualify under the meal programs at school, to make sure they have food to eat. I'm not certain about some of the other counties. I believe Coffee County was doing that as well. Van Buren County, I don't believe, was doing it. And I don't have information on Sequatchie or Marion as to whether or not they're doing that. So it's not, all that infrastructure is not where it needs to be. Working toward it, and I believe that Ms. Bowling was even, you know, trying to help get that increased statewide, but it's just not there yet.
Well, will that be a part of your upcoming platform if you are to secure this seat? What are your plans to improve the infrastructure?
Yes, sir, it will be. That's not one of my main platform items right now, because I mean, there's so many topics you could, you know, approach. But that is something that I am interested in, most definitely, because I think it's super important for our district and our state and our nation that, you know, we have these infrastructures in place. So that would be one that I don't want to go on as if I know everything I'm talking about, because I don't. I have to do research. As an attorney, I'm trained to do my research and then, you know, put forth the facts that I've found in light of, through the lens of, you know, the research and the interviews. But I think that it's vital. It has become vital in our society.
What is the initiative breakdown of your district?
What is the what?
What is the racial breakdown of your district?
I don't have the percentages. I know that we're primarily a white district. And I think that our Hispanic population is more than our African-American population.
So it's amazing.
I mean, if that's what you meant.
Yeah, it's amazing that, so it's not even a racial thing, I don't think, sometimes when it comes to education. It's a business.
Economics. Yeah.
Economic business. See, that's what I'm saying. It goes back to our Republican versus Democrat thing. It's not even a matter to me now. We're just going to screw everybody. Regardless of what you are, you're saying you have, let's just say 85% to % white ratio group in your rural. Then
Yeah.
Mexican, the Latino Mexican population is, let's say 10. So you might have a 3 to 5% or whatever it is left of other, including African Americans, and you're still struggling when it comes to education and Medicare.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So the government is failing us. I call it now, it's more classism, or the have versus the have-nots. We need to get away from the racial thing almost now. Of course, it's always going to be an issue, but we need to pay attention. Now it's us versus them. It's the millionaires, where we got $1,200. They got $1.7 million at millionaires. A billionaire company as the Los Angeles Lakers got money from what small businesses like us. We're a small business, right? We try to get money, we can't get it. So the focus need to go from red and blue to green, because it doesn't matter. We got
That's exactly right.
Say they're independent, right? Look at the point of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is an independent. His people probably more so fall along the lines of independent. They didn't come out and vote, right? So, but Democrat, you're going to automatically get it if you vote straight Democrat, if you vote straight Republican. But the people are suffering.
Yes, they are.
You're paying people extra $600 a week, which is good. But then you open up the economy. So now that $600 is going to go away.
Mhm.
And if the people still don't want to come in, they got to go from what they were used to, at $865 or something like that, to now $265. So you might as well go back to work. So we got to get people in office. You're in Tennessee, and people don't think that you can affect us because you're in Tennessee and we're in Alabama. No, every elected official, it's like it's a ripple effect,
It
right?
is indeed.
The
Indeed.
chaotic theory, where the butterfly flaps its wings and it constantly moves. The energy doesn't stop.
Right. Anya and I had spoken about something related to that the current senator in this district proposed a bill she helped co-sponsor early this year. Now it's now thrown into subcommittee, and she proclaimed, "Oh, it's been killed. It's been killed." So like, everybody get over it. Don't get so all upset. What she failed to tell them was that, guess what? It can come right back out of committee. It was a bill so that like 27 different professions that currently require licensure, okay, like cosmetologists, barbers, funeral directors, real estate agents, home inspectors, even accountants, all these people would no longer have to be licensed in order to practice. Yeah, I just saw your eyes go, whoa, what insanity is this? It's pure insanity. How does that affect us financially? It affects us greatly, because what you're going to end up with, if that actually went through, is you're going to have people who are coming in who may not be trained like they should be. And because they don't have to go through licensure, they're going to undercut people who have gone the distance, have done what they're supposed to, and they're setting up a cheaper shop. And yeah, you may go in there and you may get your hair cut cheaper, but you may not know what you come out with. Look at the banking industry, the lending industry for homeowners. If you get an unethical home inspector, an unethical real estate agent, look what you're going to do. You're going to go in, you're going to get loans for houses that maybe didn't come up to par. And the people who buy these homes are going to have no recourse, because guess what? Part of their contract is in the fine print that nobody ever sees or reads, is you're waiving your cause of action against me if this whole thing is screwed up. I don't understand on what planet that makes sense to do. Yet that's what Mrs. Bowling was proposing. That becomes a ripple effect financially for the entire economy. Not, like you said, not just Tennessee, but if Tennessee adopts it, guess what? Alabama may be next. Mississippi may be next. You know, it flows down, because they do. Each one of these states seem to look at each governor looks at the other one and goes, "What are you going to do? I don't know. What are you going to do?" Does that make sense, what I'm saying on that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I just find it preposterous that would even be entertained.
Rob, as someone that's in education, when did you see a shift in, like, it went from okay to now it's just below water, or, the school system kind of thing? How many years have we been like this?
I mean, I've been in education for over 30-something years. The evolution of apathy probably started maybe about 25 years ago. As far as not understanding the true gravity that it does take money, and that you need to be progressive with your thought. As the children are changing, the parents have changed, you have to adapt. Similar to what I was saying about the technology infrastructure, you see now, when you need components like that in place, and it doesn't fall in, then you kind of screw. The strange thing about it is that with the resources being placed in the right vehicle, you can change the mindset of education. But again, it has evolved more into a business where we used to care about students, we used to care
Yes.
about families, we used to care about community.
Mhm.
We no longer do
Yep.
that because we're concerned, at least here, about the $1,975 you make per student. But let me tell you something
Right.
to change that dynamic in education right now. Every teacher has a paraprofessional and/or / teacher's aide in the room. That would help the ratio as far as instruction is concerned. That would definitely help the teacher who has enough pressure put on them. A lot of people think, oh, you just, grading a few papers and that's it. No, when you're in education, it is a 22-hour, notice what I said, 22-hour a day experience. So like I said, how can you change the mindset of education? What Ms. Younglove is saying is pretty much on par. In this region, let's call it Dixie, in this region, we all tend to look and see what our brothers and sisters around us are doing. There's financially, great systems wherever you have money. You invest that money and then you expect some type of return on that investment. Now, where I get a little confused about it, I'm not really familiar with Tennessee and your particular area, Ms. Younglove, but don't you all have a lottery in the state? And
We do.
Does any of those funds go into the education fund at all?
Yes, they do.
What percentage?
I don't know. I know that more of it goes to higher education than goes to, your primary education. It is a thing where they're giving out like more scholarships for college, that kind of thing. But the money is there. It's supposedly being used. And I have to do some more research on this, but something that I'm wondering about too is, we just recently, this past week, had a decision from our Tennessee Supreme Court about the voucher program. Okay, that Governor Lee is very much in favor of the voucher program. I've researched it. There was an article online by the Wharton School of Business from Pennsylvania that went through the pros and cons of the voucher system as far as, how it affects public school. And while there were many pros, the ultimate was a con in that it lowered the sustainability of public schools. It lowered the expectations. It's like a dumbing down of our public school systems, if that makes sense. And I just have to wonder if part of that $6 billion surplus that we have can be attributed to some of the funds that we have from the lottery, and why that's not being redirected to education.
Well, on behalf of people like Lonnie and myself, you're welcome, because as you know, Alabama doesn't have a lottery, and a lot of times we have to cross those lines, be it to Georgia, Mississippi, and the like.
Right.
We contribute funds. It would be nice to know that a major percentage of that was delegated and earmarked specifically for, like you mentioned, you have 96 counties, and you make a gazillion amount of money using this lot. Progressive ideas like that to be infused. And again, I feel that if you could add a teacher's aide to relieve the average class size right now is not on par. No. You basically have about 32 students in one classroom at one time per one teacher, which isn't fair. So like I said, if you do have a paraprofessional or a teacher's aide in the room, that cuts that number in half. And again, instruction could be, better served that way to kind of make sure everybody's staying on the course.
Exactly.
So again, if you are to win this position you're running for, what moves would you make to kind of change the direction of the flow of cash from the lottery?
Well, that would be something that I would work hard to do, is to, like you say, make sure that those funds go for the purpose they need to go for. Not just for a TV ad that says, "Ooh, look what we've done for education." Actually put feet on the ground in these 96 counties and these public schools, getting those teachers' aides in, getting the teachers what they need funding for per student, getting those teachers raises so they don't have to take on second and third jobs just to be able to afford their profession. Something that I was just thinking about that, oh, I know what it was. I was going to ask you about. Now, it seems to me, you know, when I went to school, back right after Noah got off the ark, you know, what my teacher said was law. If I got in trouble at school, I got in trouble at home, because my teacher, you know, was, without my guardian saying it, was a deity basically. And if they said I didn't do something right, I was in trouble. I see now there is more of a defensive posture on the part of the teachers. It's like some of their power is taken away from them. Is that a fair statement? It just seems to me like they're just marginalized to a certain extent, so that they don't have the authority.
Culture,
yeah.
In culture, there was a time where the teacher was admired on the same level as the lawyer, as the police officer, as the fireman. Again, I think that's just an evolution in the culture changing and shifting away from the importance of education.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, all you can do is try to empower. As I tell people all the time, I can only help the willing. The education is out there. The resources are out there. If you press a little bit harder and stuff and scratch off of the surface, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of programs that would help. As Lonnie was mentioning about the PPP program that came a couple of weeks ago, and how an organization like the Los Angeles Lakers was able to secure funds. These people have grant writers right there in the office, immediately ready to write up. And that way, when you have those financial resources that focuses on getting money immediately when it's available, that's the result that you get. Well, if you had a strong school system that basically was on standby to write immediate grants in that same nature, again, you would get the finances that you need. As far as changing the world, when I meet people now and they tell me I'm going to school to be a teacher, I just kind of snicker. I'll be honest with you.
And that's so heartbreaking, but that's the reality.
Well,
you know,
I'm seeing some different things. Again, I'm not a nerd like Lonnie. Lonnie knows that technology left and right, and he's always fiddling around with anything electronic and new. Whereas I'm a little bit of old school now.
I'm old school too.
I see the advantages, but since this Corona incident has come into my life, I'm realizing that we're going to be even more dependent on technology, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you can actually create, and you know, just like your teacher can come into your living room with the technology, and you're basically going to be graded on a totally different level, but it's going to be at your pace. So again, you know, I try to look at the positive side of it.
Right.
Perhaps if you can find an algorithm per child that gives them their own pace without the pressure of, you know, you got to make an A, you got to make an A, you got to make an A. I think you're going to end up creating a different mentality of citizens. So it's important that we see what's available. And I think that's why it's important. I'm always asking about the technology infrastructure in all areas across the nation and stuff. Lonnie gave me a homework assignment last night. I didn't realize I was going to be working it until 2 o'clock this morning, just studying the dynamics of the Alabama Black Belt. And it was absolutely fascinating, the information that came my way. But similar to what you're explaining with your campaign, there's a lot of things that are missing. And if you really want people, if you really care about people like you say you do, you find ways to connect those dots, be it through political affiliation, or like I said, trying to network with other private entities and stuff to make it happen.
I'm sorry, Young Love. You are a Democrat. Would you consider yourself progressive, moderate, or conservative, or liberal? How would you define
I've
yourself?
been asked that. As a matter of fact, a lady sent me a private message a couple days ago asking me, she says, the way she worded it was, are you a Democrat or are you conservative? Huh? Yeah. And then I looked at her page, and her page was all about President Trump and, all this stuff. And I was like, okay. All right. So we're putting labels on things. And I think that I hit all four of those in some areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I can't say, hey, I'm totally a liberal. I can't say that because I'm not. But I'm certainly not totally conservative. I have elements of each of those labels in my life.
And the reason I asked that is it wasn't to trip you up. Good
Oh,
afternoon.
no. I just think it's interesting that people have those labels,
Yeah, we have a couple people joining. Ladies and gentlemen, I see Jude Washington joining. He's a local celebrity around in Birmingham. We have State Senate for District 16 for Tennessee, Sheila Younglove. She is here campaigning for the seat. She's in the rural area of Tennessee, so we're finding out new information that basically Tennessee is just like Alabama in certain ways. Now back to what I was asking, the reason I asked you that, I feel everybody in some way is all of them.
Yeah.
Some way you're conservative. It's just the point of that word is so bad. It's automatically Tea Party or Trump.
Right.
What it's saying is
Not when you put black in front of it, Lonnie.
I know, right? You're well. That's another word for that. Then.
Oh.
And trust me when I tell you, it's my thing is I want people to realize that if it comes down to money and you don't believe the government should spend $1 trillion, you're physically conservative. Or if you don't believe in abortions, you're not as liberal. You know what I'm saying? It's everything falls under. You may not care. Like I don't care who you marry. So I'm liberal in that point. You get what I'm saying? I don't.
Yeah, I do.
Because I tell a joke all the time. I say, as long as you're not sleeping with my wife, I don't care. And I just want people to realize that be who you are and stop fighting. Now back to my point. If you're in Tennessee, and Tennessee is a little bit more conservative. It's like Alabama, Kentucky. It's kind of like a red state, right?
Yes.
How can you work across the aisles? Even though I see the desire and I see that you will want to, how can you truly work across the aisles in Tennessee?
I think it takes persistence. I think it takes communication, constant communication with other legislators. They have to get to know you. I mean, that's part of it. If we say that personality isn't part of it, then we're kidding ourselves. I think that I have to look at some of the proposals and policies of somebody who is labeled as a Republican, see what, like I would in a lawsuit. I have a private practice. I primarily do family law and other civil litigation. I want to put forth my client's position to the best of my ability, okay? But even with doing that, I have to recognize the limitations of the law and what they're allowed to do. And then I look and see what the opposing party wants. Everybody wants everything their way. Well, everybody can't always have everything their way. There's why there's that beautiful thing called, mediation and compromise. I think you have to be very careful about what you compromise on, but I think that it is possible. I think that the early fathers of our country did the very same thing. Jefferson and Adams were best friends forever and held diametrically opposite views much of the time. But somehow those two brilliant men came together and, helped form the basis for our country. I think that we can do that again. I'm not calling myself brilliant by any means. I'm just saying, I think that you have to have a servant's heart, and you have to be willing to reach across that aisle and say, hey, what can we do to make this a better situation? You're going to be met with skepticism. You're going to be met with outright disdain and suspicion. But the conversation has to start somewhere. So, yeah, my crystal ball is on the blink. Darn it, it's on the blink. But I think that you have to start that conversation somewhere. And they have to see that, hey, she's not out for herself or building her resume here. She's out for what's actually good for people. So how can we work together to accomplish that?
We have a Facebook comment, July says, we have become so divided that the gap would never close. Conservatives now associate themselves as the party of God and progressives as sinners. So we've moved along political to that goes again.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah, we're fighting amongst ourselves.
And that's so ridiculous.
But I think sometimes, Lonnie, that's the plan. And I mean, you don't have to. You know what? If you close your eyes and you listen to some of the conversation here, again, you're going to balance it out pretty much evenly, like you said. There's a little bit of conservatism in all of us. There's a little bit of liberalism in all of us. Okay. Sometimes I think we hold on to these political affiliations because they're so comforting. And you get so used to something being the way it is that you don't want to challenge the system. Where how many years have you been hearing me say, let's create another party? Let's create a third party. Hey, you've heard me say, let's create a Black conservative party that can garner and use those numbers to get the numbers and benefits, be it financially or whatever. What's important is that, like I said, if you're going to, pride plays a big part in all of this. And I think from a political scope, it might be time for all of us to kind of grow up. If you really listen, even to somebody as ignorant, in my personal opinion, as a Lindsay out of South Carolina, he does say some things that I can kind of see that. The only thing I'm going to say about the Jefferson and the Adams and stuff, and I just try to keep it real, Sister Sheila, is that while they were framing this, they didn't really think about people who look like me. And I think that's the problem. I think this, of all times, would be a great time to move for revamping this Constitution. Now, will it happen? Hell no. But the thought within itself is that, maybe we can step back and see how dysfunctional things are going right now. And I mean, when you actually got some poor white Republicans who are waking up and seeing how things are being done and how they're being representative, it's going to cause a shift. And unique, after looking at numbers, I'm seeing white women are shifting. You care to elaborate on that?
I agree. I've seen that shift. I think that white women are, we've been standing up for ourselves more and more each generation. But I do see where we've looked and seen how the powers that be, aka the white men, are mucking it up. So now we're saying, well, I could have done that. How about we try to actually accomplish something here for good? I see them stepping up, not afraid to use their voice. And I think that at first people kind of laughed it off, but now they're kind of going, wait a minute, she has something worth listening to. I think we have to get there, not just with white women, with Black women, with Asian women, Black men, Asian men, whatever, Hispanics. There's something for everyone, and there's a voice for everyone. And I've been called an idealist in that regard. Well, you know what? I want to be an idealist. I want to believe in the good of our country. I want us to rebuild bridges that need rebuilding, and we can do it. It takes being less selfish. It takes honesty with ourselves, honesty with others. It takes love for our fellow man and woman. It's not all about us, although, you know, a lot of times maybe we wish it was, but it's not all about me. I can speak to a lot of that people that, oh, well, yeah, you're a white woman and you're a lawyer. Well, what, you know, you're one of those upper people, whatever. Nah, I came from nothing and probably to nothing I'll return. You know, I was fortunate enough to get an education that I wanted to get. I was awarded last year for doing a lot of pro bono work in Tennessee. And it was something that I wanted to do. Like I said, I've always had a servant's heart, you know, and I think that you get more people together that have a servant's heart, then they're not going to care what your color is, what your creed is, or anything else. We're going to come together. And I think that we have to start building that bridge, and we have to start building it now.
Let's go back a little bit to the beginning. You were orphaned at an early
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I was.
You pulled your bootstraps up and you became a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
What candidate can Joe Biden pick to justify your vote in this upcoming election?
Oh, no pressure at all, Lonnie.
No pressure there. There are a lot of good people to choose from. Personally, I lean towards probably Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris. Oh, watch it. He's going, no. You know, but then I see other people within that realm that would be better suited to cabinet positions. You know, like maybe I said Kamala, it's Kamala. Kamala Harris, maybe make her the AG.
Why Stacey?
I love her fighting spirit.
Warren.
Warren's fabulous. She might be a very good person for that. You know, you were just asking me what I would like to see. I love Stacey Abrams' spirit. I really do. I love to see that she is everybody, you know. She's not the privileged few, in my view. And I guess I fight for the underdog, you know. That's the lawyer in me. I fight for the underdog. Elizabeth Warren, I think, has a lot of good ideas. I think she could be very good in foreign policy. And I know I'm mentioning just women because right offhand, I can't really think of any men that, you know, well, I mean, I'm just, you know, no names are
look at that.
No. Look at that.
I understand, Sheila, it's
Sexism
okay.
right
I understand that comment.
But you were about to die.
No, you know, it's not about that. But let me tell you, taking off from what Lonnie is saying, I think it would be very smart right now, since we do know that Biden is going to be the confirmed candidate. Why don't you, because I don't think we're going to have a convention, why don't you go ahead and put your cabinet together, showcase it during the same week, and get everybody hyped up. And then you'll be ready to rock and roll come January 2021.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I think that's a very wise statement. I think that could get him the election. If he has a chance at all, I think that. But it could
also, well, just like I said, now Lonnie, I don't know where he was feeding into that, because Lonnie never tells you where he's gonna stand with it. You know, I think Lonnie is still a little upset about that Bernie situation, and the Bernie bros and sisters are going to play a major part. Yes. That's why everybody's doing all this smoozing on the side and kissing up behind the scenes. He called it right, although he got it wrong as him being a nominee. But Bernie is going to be the biggest power player in
Yeah.
all of this, we can get his people to do right. So that's why
Yeah.
I said I think it would be smart to go ahead and let us kind of get an idea, get comfortable. I think people,
Mhm.
I don't know. At one point, I think I was down with Stacey, I will admit, but
Mhm.
my opinions kind of changed as I kind of observed some little nuances that I didn't, kind of like.
Mhm.
No one's mentioning Susan Rice, and I think she's definitely qualified.
Most definitely, and you're right. Nobody has mentioned her, and quite frankly, she just hasn't entered my mind. She is qualified, very much so. She's been there, done that.
But see, I
She
think
would be very good.
Val Demings.
Right.
I've always liked Kamala as for president. I was one of the first people out of my friends to say Kamala, and everybody
I
jumped.
was too.
Somebody jumped on me saying, "Well, you know how she did in Oakland." I said she was a DA,
Yeah.
following the rules that were in place.
That's what she
But
did.
she was the only one at the time that won multiple offices, and each office was a step up, I guess you could, for this
Right.
position. But can I see her as vice president? I would prefer maybe AG or maybe the Supreme Court.
She'd be awesome on Supreme Court.
That vice president, yeah, I could see, because I know that this vice president is going to be a little bit more active than most vice presidents have been. It's kind of
Yeah, I
similar
think
to
so
the
too.
Reagan situation back then. So I don't know much about Stacey. I was inspired by a story that they couldn't get into the governor's office one time after she had won an award, and they kind of stopped her from coming in. So that story was kind of inspiring, but I don't know much more about her. I think she should go back and win Georgia. And I
Yeah.
know that's so smart. Like before all the stuff happened with Andrew Gillum, I wish he would go back and win Florida, win those seats, and do something for Georgia, especially with the things that are going on in Georgia right now. I wish we would have somebody in place that kind of sticks up for everyone. I think Warren, which I actually voted for Warren during the primary. I try to vote for the people. I tell people to vote for the people who you really want in the primary, and then vote who you have to in the general. So I think Warren kind of blended what Bernie was doing. She went to the Joe Biden area. I think she could have mixed in all of it. Even though I was for Bernie, I just knew they wasn't going to give it to Bernie. He's an independent. And there goes again that two-party system. Bernie actually, everything that he's presented, even Yang, they're presenting to the people right now through this coronavirus. So their platform shows you it works, right? I think Warren was just a little bit, she was more middle of the road.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to Biden. I mean, Bernie. I think that she could have pulled that middle America white vote, woman vote.
Yeah.
So I know she's different than Hillary. So all these different factors that came in. Those are the candidates that I'm looking for. All the rest. And I don't. It's going to be hard for me to vote this time. On either side, for Trump or for Biden. Trump can't get my vote. I mean, it's always, it goes back to 78, 79 with Trump. It goes with the Park 5, Central Park 5. It goes different things where he didn't allow blacks to live in his buildings. It just so many things. And I think New Yorkers really want Trump as soon as he gets out as well. I think New York is going to be the one that actually brings down Trump. I think that's why he moved to Florida. But Biden has I think Biden has to also, he has to apologize and reform the 84. No, what is it, 86 crack law, 84 crack laws, and the 94, whatever things he had to do. He has to reform those two laws. He has to do something to me, and not just an apology. I think the people are in jail now for marijuana, while Colorado was making billions of dollars. And I know that he already said that he's going to go to the LGBTQ community right up front. He's going to keep working with that, which is fine with me. But I want you to say, hey, those laws we did, we know they were wrong. But we had to, now it was a bad time because crack was really bad thing. I was a young guy back then. So I think that we have to do something. He has to reform that some kind of way. He got to either let the people out in the 80s and the 90s, because I tell people there was a little bag about this big. They used to be red, like little Ziploc bags. You could get like 22 or 25 years for just having those bags. These are before the vials came out, you know, the crack vials. You could get like 20 years for having those. And I'm like, now, you know, fix that, and I'm okay with you. At least for me. I know everything can't be, you know, I'm not going to get into the reparations and all that. I know that's political speak. But you got, and now I know P. Diddy also got in trouble as well. And I'm gonna let you speak, I promise. He got in trouble a few weeks ago about saying, Biden, you're going to have to earn our vote. I understood what he was saying.
Okay.
Now, what he was saying was, if you're Black, you're expected to be Democrat. Mm-hmm. And somebody who's campaigning, which you know, if you're a Democrat, you're going to get a certain amount of Democrat votes regardless because you're a Democrat. Same as Republican, they don't cross over. But he is saying that literally, South Carolina started Joe Biden's success right now. He was what, 4th and 5th place as a VP? Right. And then after South Carolina, he's now the man. He knows that he really don't have to do anything for the Black community. He can play along all he wants to. And that's the kind of stuff you never hear in public. And I hate to do this on your platform.
No, it's okay. It's an interesting conversation that needs to be held.
He knows he got the vote. So he doesn't have to have a Black woman. Right. You got what I'm saying? He can really do what he wants to do. But somebody need to be saying, this is what you need. We need this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. Because America seems to forget sometime about you. You know, so
short memory.
So,
and you know, when you were asking me who I would pick for his vice presidential running mate, color didn't even come into my head, really. I was just thinking about the person. I'll tell you one story. When I was a little girl, I lived in Michigan, and man, we had some winters. And you know, down in the South, we get one snowflake we call off school. And you know, up there, I remember wearing my snowsuit and tunneling out to the street to catch the bus to go to school. We literally did that. And I remember one day I got on the bus. My brother and sister got on in front of me, and school bus was packed full, and I couldn't find any open seats, and I just kept going and going, and I saw an empty seat, and man, I grabbed it. I was probably first grade, and I didn't even notice who I was sitting by. But for some reason, the school bus driver stopped the bus, and he looked at me and he said, "You need to move." I was like, "Okay, why?" He said, "You can't sit there." Okay. I thought I'd done something wrong. And I looked beside me in the seat, and there was a Black man sitting beside me. I don't know why he was on that bus. I have no idea. But the school bus driver would not let me sit by this gentleman. I'm a little kid. I could care less who it was, you know?
Yeah.
But he made me move. And I didn't understand it until years later that might have been racially motivated. Yeah. It may have been that this guy was up to no good. I don't know. I have no idea what the deal was. But I just wanted my seat on the bus, you know? And here he wasn't going to let me sit by this gentleman because of the color of his skin. And I was just like, just let me have a seat.
And that's what we need. We need a seat at the table. We have been on the menu for so long. Now it's time for us to be a seat at the table. Yes. I know that time is going, and I know that it is Mother's Day, and I know that you have to go in and finish enjoying your day. So I
really enjoyed this, so thank you.
Anytime, feel free to come on. Is Susan Hall a friend of yours?
Hall?
Yes.
I know a Susan Hall, but she's here.
It's new. I can kind of tell, you know, I'm looking at the people as they pop on, and I'm just making sure that you're able to speak to it.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's the Susan Hall I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, we like to close out with what we call a soapbox, and that is, first, tell the people how they can donate to you. I knew there was a question. Before you do that, how far are you from Birmingham or kind of Alabama, do you think?
Gosh, I'm hours from Birmingham. A long ways. Let me Google that. I'm about An hour and 45 minutes from Huntsville.
Okay, so you're not that far from us. What I was going to do is once, if everything kind of, when is the election?
Primaries in August. Main election is in November 3rd.
Okay, what we may do, if everything is calmed down, I think, I don't know about Rob, but I think I'm going to take a trip down and kind of help you out.
Oh, thanks.
If it may be on the election day or right before, the weekend before, maybe get some information out for you.
I appreciate that.
And a half from from Huntsville, that means you're probably 3-4 hours probably from us. Which
Okay.
we'll come down on a Friday night, spend the night kind of thing, and then could get up Saturday morning and come help you out.
Really appreciate that. That's very cool. Thank you.
See your demographic. I would love to see how the rural area handles things.
Yeah, I'm about to get some information that will help me with all of the demographics on that through Vote Builder that the Tennessee Democratic Party provides you with for a small fee. Small fee. But I will get the demographics with that.
But yeah, check us out. Rob, before she gives us her, basically what I was saying about the soapbox is what you're passionate about. It's about things that you like. And before that, you can give us your information, how to reach you and everything like that. While you're getting that prepared, Rob, you want to say anything before we head out?
Yeah, my soapbox is going to be real simplified, believe it or not, this week.
You don't get one.
Yeah, I know. It seems that that coronavirus 19 is getting closer and closer to important people at a particular place, which could be at the very wrong time. The soapbox is simply this: watch and observe everything that's going on in Washington, D.C. this week.
Yeah.
It's going to be very critical. And as I tell people over and over again, all of these distractions that they're sending your way, be it trying to pardon Flynn and all of this malarkey that goes on the side, it does not usurp the responsibility of the President of the United States and his administration. So pay close attention to what happens this week.
I think you're right. I think you're very on point with that.
So, future state senator of District 16 of Tennessee, Sheila Younglove, how can we reach you if we want to support you or make calls for you or anything like that now?
Okay. If you want to donate to my campaign, the best way is to go on to Act Blue, and you can type in my name on there and it'll take you to my page and stuff, and you can donate to that. And you can do it a one-time donation, or you can make it a recurring donation, however you want to do. And I appreciate all the support I can get because, my opponent has a lot of PAC money behind her. In her last 2 elections, she's raised over $190,000 each. Yeah, that's a lot of PACs. Democrats don't generally have that many. It's more of a grassroots type thing, and honestly, I'd rather have it be a grassroots type thing. So yeah, you can go on to Act Blue. I also have a Facebook page, Younglove for Senate, and you're welcome to send me messages on that. You can text me. This will open it up for a bunch of people. You can text me at 931-273-4868. If you don't identify yourself, I won't respond because, you can get a bunch of crackpots. As long as you identify yourself and, who you're with, I'm glad to talk to you.
All right, and now your soapbox. What would you like to leave the not necessarily political community and your community that watches from here on out? What would you like to say to everyone?
We can do much better with education. And I feel that we have a moral duty to do something to help the marginalized with health insurance, health care, mental health care, destigmatizing those situations. And if we don't, I think that our society is going to pay heavily.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that it is Mother's Day, and I thank you all for taking the time out, even if you're watching it now or in the future. Um, I thank you all for joining us on this great day. I'd like to shout out everybody from mothers, even the aunts and the sisters, and everybody who had grandmothers who have um, raised you up, or if you're doing it now, helping out. I would like to thank again Ms. Younglove. I really enjoyed your conversation. I'm really interested in your demographic as
Thank
well.
you.
Tennessee, you actually are. Let me make sure. You are our first Tennessee.
Oh, cool.
I know we have Tennessee listeners. I know Anya Parker. We're actually going to go to Memphis and help her. We have some Nashville friends who actually go help as well. But thank you all for joining us across the board on social media. You can catch us at Not Necessarily Political. If you want to cash app us to help the program, you can cash app us at $ We are NNP. Brother Rob has graciously, as always, created us a mug and a coffee cup and a couple more things, but not necessarily political. We sell those. The website will be coming out very soon.